So Group C, Saudi Arabia 1, Mexico 2. And with this result, Mexico's 28-year, 7 World Cup streak comes to a halt because despite this victory via the goal difference versus Poland, it is not enough. The spell is over. Mexico fails to make the round of 16. And while this is surreal that it's happened in our lifetimes, unfortunately, the sign was on the wall a mile away coming into this tournament, with this Mexican side struggling not only to score goals, but being in a really poor spell of form for the last year and a half, or 2 years, really. And the failure lies at the foot of Tata Martino and his stubbornness and his reluctance to not play favorites and call up some much-needed firepower up front, putting too much faith in the old guard, Mexico sending one of the oldest teams in this competition. A lot of guys from the Liga MX who just don't have the quality, not very many youngsters. And it also goes down to the federation. Coaching the Mexican national team is a nightmare. It always has been. It comes with a lot of pressure. This is not just about Tata Martino, even though I think he deserves this elimination based on his, I would say, managerial malpractice, really. And this goes back to not just the results that Mexico is getting in qualifying, it goes back to really strange roster selections that he called up for this tournament. And Mexico was just not able to shake that funk, and you thought at any moment World Cup Mexico would kick in. I gave them the benefit of the doubt. I thought maybe, you know what, they'll turn it up, they'll do enough, the bare minimum to get through. But it was just too much in the end. And what is really sad is that now that a piece of World Cup history is now dead, with Mexico's streak gone, the way Mexico turned up in the second half of this last game, that's what we should have seen all tournament. Because the way Mexico were hounding Saudi Arabia and really ferociously going at them, Saudi Arabia looked like they did not know what hit them. Like, genuinely, you could see that same intensity, that same flair. That's the Mexico that should have been in this World Cup from the start. But they chose just the wrong time, too late, to rise to the occasion. But it all goes back to the fact that the Mexican Federation has made so many bad mistakes. So, for example, they stopped going to Copa Americas. They stopped having Mexican clubs participate in the Copa Libertadores. They got rid of relegation in the Liga MX. And we know it's because they want to keep the best teams in the same leagues because it's all profit. And this is something that a lot of Mexican fans have been saying for a long time. The federation only cares about money. That's every federation, of course. But there's a lot of systemic problems in Mexican soccer right now. And it's borne out by failure with the youth teams having success, not qualifying for the 2024 Olympics, not qualifying for the next Under-20 World Cup. Football is a reflection of countries. And the way that the football structure pyramid is run is it seeps into national team performances. This team was doomed from the start heading into this World Cup. Having said that, they put up one hell of a fight and almost came through. So the second half, I would call manhandling of Saudi Arabia and the insane pressure that Mexico puts the Saudis under. It did pay off in some way. Early on, Henry Martin with his left-footed shot from very close range to the center of the goal. Good assist by Cesar Montes. I believe there was a headed pass following a corner. And then Luis Chavez's goal. Woo! Boy, that free kick is one of the best goals of the tournament. I literally screamed when I saw it. I'm not joking. I'm not trying to be dramatic. I literally screamed when I saw it. The way he curls that in from distance, it's that and Marcus Rashford's free kick from yesterday. I think this is one of the best free kicks. It's one of the best goals of the tournament. You could tell at that point Mexico were amped up. Saudi Arabia had no momentum. You knew from that moment on they were going to leave the World Cup. They were going to exit. It was all about preventing it from being a humiliation. Mexico pushed and pushed to find a third goal. They got some help from Argentina, putting two past Poland. And for a time, Mexico trailed by only fair play points, and they came desperately close. Two more times to find the back of the net, but both goals VAR showed offsides. Correct calls, because you can't argue with the video assistant. The line, it's what it is. It's a science. It's literally a science. But it's a cruel. I think it's a very agonizing way to exit the World Cup. For Saudi Arabia, you have to give it up for their goalkeeper Alois. Alois, he came in with a couple of crucial saves that denied Mexico getting their third. When Luis Chavez almost scored from a second free kick, because Luis Chavez had two great free kicks in this game. He scored the first one, and he had a second one that was going up into the left top-hand corner. But Alois got a hand to it and knocked it away. He came up quite big for Saudi, and he had a couple of clearances as well. One of which was, I believe, a goal line clearance. But see, the problem with Mexico is, as they got more and more desperate, they left themselves susceptible at the back, and in stoppage time, of course, you knew that it was always a risk. Saudi Arabia pulled one back through Salim Al-Dawsari, who I believe has netted his second goal of the tournament. Right-footed shot from the center of the box, right to the bottom right corner, and I believe it was Al-Bahri. Yeah, it was Hatan Habari who assisted that. And look, it didn't necessarily, I mentioned this in my Argentina-Poland match, it didn't necessarily change the stakes of the game because Mexico could still have advanced if they got a goal. They would have advanced on goals scored, 3 versus Poland's 2. But it really knocked the wind out of their sails for that final 2 minutes, I think, of the game. And it just sucks. It sucks for Mexico because they looked dead in the water coming into this match. I didn't think they were even going to beat Saudi. Not only did they beat them, but they had Saudi sweating real bad. And they got so freaking close to pulling off the comeback. But a group stage exit is pretty much deserved, and I think that with Tata Martino's tenure now over, has his resignation, that Mexico has to pick up the pieces, and maybe this will prove to be a blessing for them when they co-host in 2026, because something has to change. This is a systemic issue. It goes deeper than the management, even though Tata and his arrogance, I think, is to blame. He should not have even made it to this World Cup. He had Mexico underperforming in the last Gold Cup, the last Nations League, in most matchups in qualifying against other CONCACAF teams. Like, it should not have gotten to this point. But it goes back to issues in the federation that have to be addressed. And this is a wake-up call. This is a wake-up call.